Hi everybody, John Clifford again, and it's here. I am now a real published author. My books came. Now I have to give all these to certain friends and my family. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a little bit heads up. I've been asked, how did I get it published? Interesting story, and maybe it will be interesting for you to hear my journey. As you know, if you follow me, I started this book and wrote most of it just a couple years after Balanchine died. My good friend and composer of Casablanca and other things, Dr. Clyde Allen, suggested at that time, and this is almost 40 years ago, that I should write down my stories about Balanchine and my memory of being in the company and everything that went on, etc., because in a way it is an historical record. And Francis Mason, who wrote a book of interviews with a lot of Balanchine dancers and colleagues, etc., actually asked me if he could quote from my book, the first draft of it. I sent it to him. And he used part of it in his book. And he called me after his book was published and saying that of all the men that he interviewed, it seemed like I was the only one that really knew Mr. B. That was his opinion, and based on what he read in my book. Well, anyway, so this is, again, almost 40 years ago. So I sent my first draft to a literary agent in New York City. I think his name was Dick Baird, and he had done, he was the agent for a couple other dancers' books. And he liked it, but he said that I needed to put in salacious material, let's put it that way, because Gelsey's book had just come out, which she titled Dancing on My Grave. I hope she was referring to her part as Giselle, but anyway. And in her book, she really kind of went after ballet in general. She had lots of negativity, and it also talked about her drug abuse and some bad romantic relationships and all that stuff I was not going to put in my book. I didn't do drugs, and I didn't really have bad romantic relationships, so I didn't want to just start writing something like that. So I put the book away for years and years. The way I started my book, actually, was recording into a tape recorder. Then my sister, who now just the other day got her doctorate in philosophy, and she teaches college American history, so I'm very proud of my sister. But my sister took my recordings from the tape recorder, typed it all up. Then I went back and forth and fixed and changed things. And anyway, when I was told my book wasn't salacious enough, I just put it on the shelf for years, and really once in a while I'd look at it and maybe make a couple changes, or I'd get a new memory a little bit, but I really didn't touch it for years and years and years. Then a couple years ago, when the Peter Martins scandals surfaced, and then also with those few male dancers that evidently had some sexual problems and improprieties with some of the younger girls in the company, all started surfacing at once. And this reflected very badly on, I still consider my company, the New York City Ballet. And by inference, it started reflecting bad on Balanchine, and there was a lot of, to put it politely, misinformation just going out there that was not the company I knew, and it was not the Balanchine I knew, and it was not the ballet world I knew. So I thought, well, I've got to balance the books here a little bit. So I went back to my book, and through a producer friend of mine, he brought me to Murray Weiss, who is a top literary agent in New York City. And I sent it to Murray, and Murray liked it, and he thought it had value. So he sent it to publishers in New York. Well, guess what? Every publisher turned it down for two reasons, basically two big reasons. One, ballet books don't sell. And this is not a charity, and they're in it for the money, and ballet books in general are not bestsellers, they don't sell. So that was one thing. But the other one just really kind of pissed me off, because they were saying, well, there's no sex in it, there's no salacious, there's no dirt, I don't go after anybody, I'm not a scandal monger, And I'm not as big a name as, say, Baryshnikov. Also don't have, I'm not a minority, I'm a white male. So I don't have the diversity issue that Misty Copeland had, for instance, or has. And it is true, it's very hard for minorities to get into classical ballet for a variety of reasons, but that's getting much better now. But so I didn't have that hook, as it were. I'm just a white male, And so what Murray Weiss did was, after it was turned down by all the major publishers in New York, he went to the University Press of Florida, because they have a big catalog of arts books and books on ballet, and especially books concerning Balanchine. So luckily, University Press of Florida liked it, and then really interesting things started happening, which, again, I'm a total novice at this, so this was a big surprise for me. They accepted my book. I had to cut about 10,000 words because it was too long. And then they sent it to what they call readers. I'd never heard of that expression, but evidently they're people. They sent it to 3 people. They wouldn't tell me who they were. I asked, I said, who are you sending it to? They said, that's a secret. You're not supposed to know. Okay, and these readers were to give their opinion of the book and maybe suggestions of how it could be better or what they didn't like about it, etc. So I got the opinions sent to me. One reader was quite nasty, very personal. It's like they knew me and didn't like me personally, but I didn't know who it was. And they really didn't have anything of value to say, just they didn't like it. But the other 2 readers really were great. They had really good suggestions. They both generally liked the book. They just had some comments and suggestions how I could make it better, which I was, of course, open to. University Press of Florida said I didn't have to take any of these suggestions. They said it was my book, I could do what I want. But I did like the suggestions. I thought they made sense. So I did mostly it was reordering sequences in the book. So I did that. And then the most fun happened when a wonderful critic and editor and author, Mindy Aloff, took it on. And she was doing work as an editor with the University Press of Florida, and they sent her my book. I don't know if she requested it or if they sent it, and she really liked it. And she said she would work with me as my editor, which I obviously needed. And so we spent a few weeks, maybe 10 phone calls, long phone calls, going over it from the beginning. She didn't have anything about change of order, nothing at all like that. Mostly what she was helping me with was punctuation. And then what really fun is she taught me how to use on Word, to use the proper accents for foreign words and foreign names, which I was pretty clueless about. But she's a stickler for perfection, and so we went over all the words, the foreign words, to make sure they had the right umlauts and everything else, accent grave and all that. And that was most fun. And then in speaking to Mindy, because we were on the phone for hours at a time, I would kind of reminisce about something else that happened with Mr. B or the company. And she went, oh no, you must put that in. You have to put that in. And I said, well, I just cut 10,000 words. I can't put, she goes, no, we have to figure out a way. So I was talking a lot about Allegra Kent because she's a very special dancer, and to me personally. And Mindy said, well, this is all great. You have to put this in. And that's how the whole chapter on Allegra Kent is in my book. And so that was really fun to spend the hours speaking to Mindy on the phone. Then the third part and last part of this journey was, after all that was done, I sent it to Alistair Macaulay. Now, Alistair had been for many years the dance critic for the New York Times. I'd never met him personally. Of course, he never saw me dance, and he never reviewed any of my ballets. But we'd gotten kind of to know each other, on Facebook and Instagram, and he always had interesting comments about my comments, et cetera, et cetera. And so I kind of felt I could trust him to give me a fair evaluation. So I sent my book to Alistair, and he sent back very detailed notes. Very nice, very kind, very polite. And most of those notes were basically about dates. A few places in the book I had left the dates slightly vague. And also he wanted me to be clear that when I was speaking about something, that I was speaking to a non-ballet person, which I didn't think non-ballet people or non-dancers or non-students would buy my book or read it. But he disagreed. He said this is a historical document, that I have information that has never been published about a genius, Balanchine, and working with Robbins, et cetera, and how the New York City Ballet ran. And it's a very long, complicated thing, but he said just make sure that add a sentence or two in front of certain stories to make sure that a non-dance person could understand it, and make sure the dates are correct, etc. So we went over that. So that was really what Alastair did, helping me, and it was, again, thanks to Mindy Aloff and Alastair, I probably sound much smarter than I am. So I really wanted to send out a big thank you to both of them publicly here on YouTube. So basically that's how the book got done. All those corrections were made. Nothing really major, but just fine tuning. And then I got to put 70 photos in, which is a lot for a dancer autobiography, and a lot of pictures I had, but then we worked out a licensing agreement with the Martha Swope collection at the New York Public Library. And so I have lots of Martha Swope pictures of my ballets and me dancing that I'd never ever seen before. I went through their digital catalog and was able to find tons of great photos that I'd never seen. So that's how my book got published. And I'm glad I waited this long. I really want my book to be an optimistic, positive, truthful, realistic antidote to the poison that's been out there the last few years, from films that make the ballet profession look like a hell, and a few TV series that do the same thing. And of course, people should know that these films and TV series are not a true reflection, but you'd be surprised how many people really just take them at face value and, oh my God, ballet, it's just nothing but sexual predators and anorexia and drugs. I'm sorry, it's not. And in one of my last talks, I said how I considered classical ballet a walk in the park compared to certain sports like gymnastics and football, etc., where you can break your neck or get concussions. I've never heard of a ballet dancer breaking their neck or getting a concussion. As far as competition, mental pressure, well, yeah, but that's in every profession. If you want to be good at anything, there is a certain amount of mental pressure. As far as injuries, if you've been taught correctly, and if you are halfway intelligent and you listen to your body and you don't overwork yourself or work through an injury that you think you need to work through or something, or take drugs to dull the pain. I mean, that's crazy, but that doesn't really happen very much in ballet. It can happen. There'll always be exceptions to every rule. All right, but I already went over that in one of my last chats. So again, I'm so proud. I'm now an official author. I talk about the years with Balanchine, Robbins. It's suitable for children. There's only one F-bomb, but that came out of Lincoln Kirstein's mouth, so I wanted to be factual about that. But there are no other swear words. It's no sex, sorry. A lot of romance. No nude photographs, but a lot of history. And I always will love the New York City Ballet, no matter what incarnation. And as far as Balanchine goes, I was so honored and lucky to be in his inner circle and have him for my dad, in a sense. Okay, so I hope everybody reads the book so you get a fair, more balanced view of the wonderful world of ballet, the wonderful world of dance. Okay? Enjoy. Bye.